Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to another pickups video. I grabbed a few things yesterday, Black Friday, and wanted to just kind of share what I grabbed. Not too much, but a couple of exciting things, so let's just have a look. I hit the pawn shop that I normally go to where I pick up PS2 and Xbox games, and then they also have relatively inexpensive PS3 and Xbox 360 games, so I grabbed a few things there. The one PS2 game that I found was Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter, and they've had a copy of this before, but it was incomplete, and if memory serves, the copy they had before, the disc was in pretty bad shape. This one, someone had swapped out the case from an original PS2 case to a white Wii game case. So being a bit of a stickler that I am, I swapped it back, and they're nice enough to let me do that. And so I've got the proper case with the memory card holder and all of that. But actually, this is in pretty good shape. The manual's in pretty good shape, aside from a little bit of normal wear and tear. And the disc is also in reasonable shape. It's not in great shape, but it ought to be playable on my PS2 Slim. So looking forward to that. I grabbed a few PS3 games. This one I'd not heard of. This is Heavy Fire Afghanistan. It's Move compatible, which I don't have a Move yet. I would like to eventually get the Move. But that's kind of interesting. My assumption is, since it's a first-person shooter, that you would be able to do similar to what you can with a lot of the FPS games on the Wii, and that is use the Move controller to actually aim the targeting reticle so that you've got more accurate fire rather than just using the right analog stick to aim. And so that's pretty cool. And the interesting thing is, within this case, it also had a second disc that someone had left in here. So I got a bonus copy of Black Ops 2. Which is kind of fun. So that will also see some playtime at some juncture. Haven't got into the series really yet, but I have the PSP game that is sort of an offshoot, and now I have Killzone II, which I guess is supposed to be a really good game. Again, I'm only sort of recently getting the first-person shooters, and so now that I can pick them up dirt cheap, I'm just kind of grabbing at them as I find them. I picked up Resistance 2. Again, haven't got into the series yet, but it looks pretty interesting. It's set in 1953 with this sort of apocalyptic event scenario, and so yeah, looks like it might be fun. I'll give that a try. And the one that excited me the most, not because I know anything about it, but because it looks interesting enough, is Genji, Days of the Blade. And it looks like it's basically just a third-person hack-and-slash action game kind of a thing, but it says RPG gameplay mechanics, and so I like this kind of thing, and assuming that the story isn't completely terrible, or that the game is broken, this should be somewhat fun, so kind of looking forward to that. And I got one Xbox 360 game that has actually been at the pawn shop for a while, but I didn't pick it up because I didn't really know anything about it. But after seeing the latest GameSack video about spiritual sequels, and they mentioned Child of Eden being a spiritual sequel to the game Rez. I don't have Rez yet, unfortunately, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, and they were pretty, they spoke pretty highly of this, and so I decided, you know what, I might as well take the plunge and grab a copy, because it looks really cool, and it's a neat neat looking game. So anyway, I don't have the Kinect, so I won't be using that for playing the game, but it's playable with or without the Kinect, so we'll see what that's like. But that looks pretty cool. At the game store I usually go to, I picked up a couple things. Some more dust covers for Super NES games, so 5 more of those to put around my Super NES games. Again, I'm a total dork. I'm buying these things and putting them on the games, and I know technically I don't really need to because I clean my games and I keep them clean, but I don't know. It's fun. And I also, they were having a 20% off sale on everything in the store, and so I grabbed a couple of titles I didn't have, one of which is Solstice, sort of an isometric view puzzle platformer game, and I've heard good things about it, although I guess it's a bit frustrating, but it was reviewed well back when it came out. The other one that I am surprised I didn't have, I thought maybe I had a copy, but going back and looking at my actual collection online at rfgeneration.com, shameless plug, I found that I didn't have it, and that is the original Ikari Warriors. So now I've got Ikari Warriors 1 and 2 for the NES, and Ikari Warriors 3 I will be picking up at some point. I know that it's a little bit more of an overhead beat-em-up than the first 2 games, which are definitely more run-and-gun style overhead. This, of course, being a port of the arcade, and the second game, yeah, it's a port of the arcade game, but it's scaled back a little bit. Anyway, and I love how the label makes sure that it's a little hard to see here. 2 can play together. Very exciting. So anyway, glad to finally have Ikari Warriors in my collection. And as for the other pickups, I struck out at both Goodwill locations as far as games. I almost bought a copy of Need for Speed Carbon for the Xbox, but I didn't want to use my credit card to buy one game at Goodwill for the price that they charge. It seemed kind of silly. However, I went over and bought some stuff at GameStop since they were doing a special on used games. I'm assuming it was a Black Friday or a Thanksgiving weekend special, but it was buy 2 get 1 free. So I picked up a bunch of used titles and really scored big. So first and foremost, Shovel Knight. I originally bought this digitally on the Wii U on New Year's Day 2014 and played through the entire game that day. I bought it, my wife had to work, and so I spent the whole day playing this game and absolutely loved it. So now I can delete the installed version on my Wii U and make room for something else because I have this. So this is awesome, and I love the fact that it comes with this card so that you can download the excellent soundtrack, which is phenomenal, direct from Bandcamp, and it has this amazing full-color manual that's got a ton of pages, but it's loaded with great artwork, character profiles, and all kinds of cool stuff. Stuff about all your options and weapons and all sorts of cool things like that. So looking forward to going back and playing this again at some point, but very glad to have finally the physical version of Shovel Knight to sit on my shelf and to go back and play, because this is a fantastic game. Another one that I've been looking for a long time and finally able to find a copy at a reasonable price is Lego City Undercover. And I was saying to someone yesterday on Twitter that when Nintendo re-released this under the Selects line, along with several other Wii U games like Pikmin 3 and Super Mario 3D World and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and one or two other games, it had the effect that I was hoping it would have, which is to bring down the price of the original print. And it did. A year ago, these were selling for retail, basically, in the aftermarket. A few months ago, they were still commanding $40 plus. And so now with the Selects version coming out at $20, it brought the original back down in price, and that is fantastic. So as a collector, yeah, I'll probably go back and get the Selects of all of those games at some point, just because I would like to eventually achieve a full Wii U physical game release set, at least of North American games. But glad to have this. I know this is a great game because I played it at a friend's house. I just haven't had my own copy yet. So now I got in for a decent price. And one of my free games that I got is Resident Evil Revelations, which I've heard is a really good game. Unfortunately, this copy kind of got damaged, as you can see. This little area here got punched in. I don't know if somebody stepped on it or what, but that's a little disappointing. But otherwise, the disc itself is in good shape, so looking forward to checking that out at some point. Of course, I've been playing Zombie U somewhat, have kind of put it away again because I'm going back and doing some Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I'll be getting back to that at some point, and then of course jumping into this. Another game that I grabbed, and I know it's not expensive new, but I grabbed it used because the reviews have been so mixed for it, and that is Rodia, Sky Soldier. And funny story, the guy at GameStop was apparently not aware of what this game was or didn't know anything about it, because when he was looking for the discs to pull them out and put them in the case, he pulled out the thing and it had 2 CDs, and he's like, "Are there 2 versions of this game?" And I said, he was asking his coworker, and I jumped in and I said, "Yeah, it comes with 2 discs. It has a Wii version and a Wii U version." Oh, it's like he didn't even open the case and look to see that it was a flip case and there for 2 discs. So when you're buying something slightly more obscure or less mainstream than this, make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. So I'm glad that I was standing right there as he was shuffling through the discs. But pretty cool, and I like the fact also that it comes with 2 manuals, one specific to the Wii U version and one specific to the Wii version, because there are, of course, both versions in the game. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that I notice here is in the artwork on the game is also 2-way. You've got this version that you see on the outside, or you've got the Wii version. So depending on how you want it to look on your shelf, you've got options. Now, of course, in the blue case, sitting on your shelf with this side out might look a little funny, but if you've got spare white Wii-style DVD cases, you can do that and, you know, make that your default one. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that unless you're just a really big Wii fan, but kind of cool that they did that, and a nice sort of extra feature. But glad to have that in the collection. I've heard from a number of sources that the Wii version is actually superior to the Wii U version, just because there's more content in the game, and maybe it controls a little bit better with the Wiimote. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, I'm curious to check it out and put some time into it and see what all the fuss is about. Another game that I picked up that I saw was cheap, and because I knew that I would be able to get something for free. This is not the free game, but it is Snoopy's Grand Adventure, and this is made with the same art style as the recent Peanuts movie, which was actually, I thought it was fantastic. It was a nice throwback to the original comic strip, and was really true to the characters and to really the vision of the creator of Peanuts. His name's escaping me, Schultz. But anyway, this looks like fun. I remember the GameStop that I go to had a kiosk set up earlier in the year with an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One, I can't remember, but they were playing, they were demoing this game, and it looked like fun. And actually, I saw a little bit of gameplay footage, and it's basically just a 2D platformer, 2.5D, if you want to call it that, since it's 2D platforming, but with that sort of 2.5D perspective, 3D graphics, etc. But it actually looks pretty good. So I'm looking forward to putting some time into this, because I still love basic platforming games. I grew up in the NES, Genesis, SNES era, Super NES era, and I still love, this type of game. And so, plus I'm a sucker for Peanuts, because I grew up reading the comic strip, and my younger brother and I had access to several collections of Peanuts cartoons, because my dad had several books when he was a kid that we got to read later. And so, looking forward to this. And finally, one of my free games that I got, and it's a game that I downloaded the demo when I first got my Wii U, and I put a little bit of time into it. I didn't get it. It didn't click with me, but lots of people have told me, give it time. It's a fantastic game. Once it gets its hooks in you, then you'll be on board. And that is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Like I said, I downloaded the demo, didn't quite get into it. I think because I was expecting something a little bit different. The battles in this game just seem very slow. But since the large monster battles are the main focus of the game, that kind of makes sense, because it says there are more than 200 exhilarating quests, which I'm assuming the bulk of those are going to be going and hunting big monsters. But I have a friend who has played it, and put a lot of time into it, and loves it. And I've heard from a lot of other people that this game, it doesn't quite have the same level of fandom as Pokemon, but people who go nuts for Pokemon games are pretty rabid in their fandom. And so people in like fashion who are really big Monster Hunter fans are kind of the same. They go nuts every time anything new Monster Hunter comes out. So the bug hasn't got me yet, but we'll see. I will put some time into it, though, now that I have a copy. And since I got it for free, I can't complain too much, because this at least gives me a chance to try it out and see whether or not it's something that I can actually get on board with. So I'll put some time into this, and we'll see whether or not I become one of the Monster Hunter faithful or not. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all the comments and everything that I get on my videos. I don't always comment back as quickly as I should, because I am busy with work and gaming and other things. But I do read the comments, and I appreciate everything that you guys have to say. In the meantime, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.